Let's do a prayer chant. Feel free to repeat after me. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityur Ma Amritam Gamya. From ignorance to truth, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. We start with our eternal calendar. Swami Vivekananda's quotes. Today is December 25th. Swamiji says, youth and beauty vanish. Life and wealth vanish. Name and fame vanish. Even the mountains crumble into dust. Friendship and love vanish. Truth only abides. Sat. Namaste everyone. A few familiar faces. Today is actually a very important session. I had said yesterday that the first session was the hardest. Turns out that when I was preparing for today's session, I realized, this one is actually going to be harder. So let's strap on. But it's a very important session. It's a session that goes to the heart of Bhagavad Gita. I really believe so. So let us recap what we have done so far. In the first session, we started with the question, who am I? That first chart over there. Who am I? And we said that all the other questions we have in life about duty, purpose, love, knowledge, death, the world, God, moksha, freedom, they're all derivatives of that bigger question, who am I? And then what we did was, after we investigated this question, who am I, we introduced these 7 dolls as a way to understand the grand landscape that Bhagavad Gita paints for us. And it is from the perspective of Advaita Vedanta, the non-dual Vedanta of Shankaracharya. And very quickly, we said this is Arjun, the one having the breakdown. And we all are Arjuns in some way or the other in our life, because we have all those questions that Arjun asks Krishna over 18 chapters in Bhagavad Gita. In fact, Arjun's breakdown is just a dramatic setup to get us interested in Gita. But the rest of the 18 chapters is just a conversation, a dialogue, where all these questions that I just mentioned, who am I related questions, are actually discussed. So we said this is Arjun, this could be any one of us because we have the same questions. So this is Pranav, all of us. And then we said sitting inside of Arjun there's another little Arjun, the little Arjun called experiencing person. We call this as the doing person, the doing doll. And this is the experiencing person, made of dualities, good and bad, pleasure, pain, happy, sad, love, fear. It's all in this experiencing doll. Then we said this experiencing doll has another person sitting inside of it, which we said it is the soul person. We've shown it like a bondage here because this is karam bandhan, bondage to karma. And this is where we internalize everything that we have learned about life, this life and previous lives combined. And we said the interesting thing about these three dolls is while this doing person is seen by everyone, how do I look, how do I act, those kind of questions, the experiencing person is seen only by me. This one also sitting inside of me, my soul, Jivatman, is also not seen by me. It is the invisible puppet master that is controlling the other two persons inside of me, the experiencing person and the doing person. Then finally we said, beyond that soul person, the experiencing person is Atman, the pure consciousness, the Chit, that one thing that makes us all the same, the witness, the pure experiencer, the pure subject. And we said it is beyond experience, beyond space, beyond time, and beyond causation karma. So it's a special entity that is a pure subject. Then we said whatever we called Arjun is actually made up of these three persons sitting inside of Arjun. And then we said all the Arjuns and all the Pranavs in the world are sitting inside of another bigger doll called the Maya doll or the Maya person, this world outside. And as Krishna very remarkably and very beautifully, poetically shows us in chapter 11, Vishwarup Darshan Yoga, he says, all of the Maya is seated within me. So this was our doll 6, the God person. And finally we said, this is the form of God. There is another God that Hinduism says is beyond this form of God, the formless God, Brahman, existence, or Sat. While this doll was the Brahman doll of existence, bigger than the biggest, the being person, this is another doll, same doll, but this is smallest than the smallest. And then we said, if Advaita says that they are the same, then they should all come within a circle of Ananda. Sat, Chit, Ananda. That is the chart we have over there. Sat, Chit, Ananda is the circle. Om is the symbol. Tat, Tvam, Asi. Tat, Tvam, and the circle is Asi. For those who know the Mahavakyas. Aham, Brahma, Asmi. So, this is the grand landscape that Upanishads and Gita paint for us. All the identity questions that we have about who am I are all within these dolls or these 7 persons. Then yesterday, this is what we did in session 1. And in session 2 yesterday, we introduced Atman, the pure being, consciousness. And then we said, this is the nature of moksha, freedom. Freedom from everything that holds us back. The good and the bad. The divine and not so divine. The saint in us and the the saint in us and the sinner in us is all within this soul person. But this is the real answer to the big question, who am I? Which is all somehow being misidentified in all these lower dolls with all the other questions that we said: purpose, duty, love, fear, all of those things. And then we said this one doesn't die. This is who we are. Today, as I said, it is going to be a very beautiful session, but a little harder session. Today we get into the deep end of Gita's psychology, which I truly believe is where Krishna is pointing us to. A true understanding of who we are, from a transactional basis, of course. What we have in these charts are the icons we have created to describe the psychology. These are also icons for the 7 dolls, and these 7 dolls will be supported by these icons. Also, we will introduce some very important concepts, ideas today. We've talked about Purusha already, but today we'll also talk about Prakriti, Guna, Karma, and finally Swabhava. 5 very important concepts, and the goal of this study sessions we are doing is really for me to show you how we can read Gita on our own. The point of these sessions is not really somebody coming in and giving you their interpretation, but if that interpretation makes sense to you, it's a hard text, a really hard text, taken me years to unravel. But the biggest service that I can get out of this would be if these things can be a little clearer, then we can wrestle with the text ourselves, and then more and more we'll find ourselves. All of us will find our story in it in some way or the other. And all of us have different stories. So that is our objective, that is our goal with this deep study we are doing. So there are 6 questions I will introduce today. We won't be able to go through all 6 today just because of the limitation of time. But we will cover 3 of them, and 3 of them we'll cover tomorrow. So what are the 6 questions? So first we said there are these 7 dolls. The question then comes is, what are these dolls made up of? Yes, Meher?
They're made out of wood.
Yes. These dolls are made up out of wood, but are we also made out of wood if we are dolls? I want you to think of yourself as not these dolls, but a doll yourself, because we are all dolls. So first question would be, what are these dolls made up of? Second question would be, good. So these dolls are made of certain things. How do they come to life? Once they come to life, the third question is, what is this play of life? We are all in this, what I cheekily call one player game, life simulation, matrix, whatever you want to call it. So, what is this play? And how is this play played out? That is question 3. And this play is always in motion, isn't it? Moment by moment. We don't get to take a break. So the second question is, what is this motion? What is this motion of play? Fifth question is, what is the point of this play? What are we making with this play? And lastly, the biggest question out of these 6 is what we become when we play. On the chart over there, the last one, the handwritten chart, are all these 6 questions that I just articulated. So these 6 questions are what we will investigate over the next 2 sessions. The first 3, what are the dolls made of? Second, how do they get life? And what is this play of life? So these 3 questions we will investigate today. It's a particularly dense session, so I had to make notes. So I will now go to the charts now. And the charts will be supported by the dolls. So the first question being, what are the dolls made of? Wood. Yes. So what is the wood in us? We'll find out. So these dolls are made up of these 2 things. Purusha, the consciousness, and Prakriti, matter. Now this doll, the Purusha, consciousness, is not actually made. It's given. It's the eternal one, the beginningless, the one doesn't have a birth, the one that doesn't die. So, in the Upanishadic world, this is always is consciousness. Then, we talk about a second element of these dolls. Matter, Prakriti. As we said, that these dolls are made up of wood. If we look at ourselves, we said Arjun is made up of these 4 dolls. Let me also do one more thing. Let me put these 3 dolls away because we are doing psychology today. These are what I call philosophy dolls. So we'll focus only on these 4 dolls. This Arjun, the outer body, the doing person, if we look at it, because the 3 bodies, is made up of 5 elements. This is the wood in us. All of us. Outer body. We are all unique arrangements of these 5 elements. The 5 elements being space, air, fire, water, and earth. So this is our iconography for space, air, fire, water, and earth. Now, the second doll, the experiencing person, the one inside of us. What is it made up of? We said it's made of dualities, good and bad. Experience, basically. And Upanishads and Gita say the way we understand what these dolls are made up of are these 5 things. The senses, the 5 senses we have: seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, tasting, and 4 other things. 4 other things being, one is mind, thoughts. This one. Intellect, ability to discriminate between right and wrong. Third is memory, ability to remember and forget. We don't remember everything that has happened in our life, and that's a good thing. But we remember most important things in our life, which is how we know that what we know about life. Finally, ego. That constant background awareness that I say, I am Pranav. So this experiencing person then is made up of these 5 things: the senses, the mind, the memory, the ego, and the intellect. And there are dualities. Sometimes we are in control of our senses, sometimes we are not. Sometimes we are in control of our mind, sometimes we are not. Sometimes we are able to make good decisions, sometimes we are not. Sometimes we remember something, sometimes we do not remember something. But there is one little thing in here, ego, that doesn't have duality. Ego is always that awareness that I am someone. This is an important thing to remember, because ego holds the key to everything that we will see at some point in a subsequent session. This ego, the constant awareness, is what shows up as a doer in karma. It shows up as a lover in bhakti. I am a lover. As I am a thinker. I am a knower in dhyana. And also again, the ego shows up as my jivatman, the person that gets born again and again. So this experiencing person is a lot more complicated, in fact. The complication gets harder and harder the more we go in. Outside body, 5 elements, not a big deal. Inside, there is another thing happening. Then the soul person is made up of karmic impressions, samskaras, that we carry on life to life. Everything, as I say, we have internalized. The good and bad about life, or the shapes or perspective of life, is also in here. It's also Prakriti. So in this iconography, the karmic impressions is this unique fingerprint that all of us carry. That makes us unique individual. And then it is also made up of desires and ignorance, the seed form from which everything else comes. Our deepest desires, all embedded, not known to us. Ignorance about my real nature, who am I, is all in here. So, this Arjuna is made up of two things: Purusha, consciousness, and Prakriti, matter. Matter itself is made up of, depending on which doll we are talking about, it could mean either the 5 elements, It could mean this mind complex we have, or it could mean this soul complex we have made of ignorance, desires, and samskaras. Yes, Meera? So that answers our first question. A lot I have downloaded here, and we'll leave the space open for questions. But this was the answer to the first question. What are these dolls made up of? These dolls are made up of consciousness and matter. All of us. Just a different mix. Then the second question we said was, okay, just like this little monkey, who has this battery I said was yesterday, consciousness. And then this plastic body is matter, Prakriti. Now we come to the second question. How do these dolls get animated? We all are animated. No, I'm talking to you. You can hear me. We'll refer to our this printout. Let's go to the second last page of this printout, which starts with number 3, Purusha consciousness. Yes, Meera?
What about bananas?
Bananas are what we are chasing in life, Meera. What we want in life. Coming from here, desires.
Small question for the first question. When we're talking about consciousness and matter, we're just talking about these four dolls, right?
In fact, that's a very good question. No. It's a very deep question. You jumped to probably session 7.
Take it as a compliment.
Right. In fact, those 3 dolls are also made of the same matter. Okay. But we are starting from Tvam, me, Aham, consciousness. There is also other part of it, which also, let's temporarily say the same logic will apply there also. That is why it will all become one, no? Otherwise, if the universe is separate than me, then it won't come in a whole. So that's a short answer. So I'll just quickly read the verses from Gita. 7.4 says Krishna, earth, water, fire, air, space, mind, intellect, and also ego. This is my Prakriti divided in 8 ways. Then later on in 13.6 he says, these are dense verses, but I'm just reading them out to you. Not to further explain them, I've already explained them, but just to tell you which verses we are talking about here in Bhagavad Gita, because we are doing a self-study of Bhagavad Gita. 13.6 he says, the 5 subtle elements, the ego, the intellect, and also the unmanifest causal. 5 elements, the ego, the intellect, and also the causal. The 10 senses of knowledge and prana. Ajay ji, sorry to wake you up, but the question that you had asked yesterday about prana. No, it's okay. I was just playing with you. You were asking yesterday of prana. It's all coming here. And also the mind. This is all Prakriti. Then we said Purusha and Prakriti, Krishna says in 13.2, they are beginningless. I said Purusha is beginningless and endless. Prakriti is interesting. It is beginningless, but it can be ended also by moksha. Then the second question, once we have answered the first question, what the dolls are made up of, the second question comes is, how do the dolls get animated? And Krishna says, the Purusha is seated within the Prakriti. The battery, Purusha, sits inside Prakriti and we get this animation. Just like this toy doll. This is what we are showing in this chart here. It's basically combining those two charts. Imagine the top view of Arjun, 4 dolls within him. This small white patch you see is the consciousness. The consciousness then sits inside this matter. And this consciousness sits inside the matter we get our friend Arjun. This is Bhagavad Gita 13.20 to 13.22, these verses. We'll read it together. Purusha and Prakriti are both beginningless, and Purusha sits in Prakriti. And then the game begins. Animation begins. And what happens with this animation is, this is the new printout I gave today. Very important verse, 13.7. He says, from that come the personality. Because this matter, as I said, is a unique to all of us. From that, our personality emerges. 5 elements have a personality: moving, gesturing, expressions, energy levels. Then he says the body aggregate. This is the body aggregate. The awareness, conditioned awareness in the mind. Desire, hatred, happiness, sorrow, and the will. They all come from when consciousness sits inside the matter. We get life. Once we get life, then the game starts. That's question 3. This monkey, once we put the battery inside of it, it starts playing its game. In this case, its game is doing this particular action. Guna. Experience emerges once the consciousness sits in matter. And then, I'll refer to the verses here. Krishna says, Purusha is the reason for the for experiencing pleasure and pain. So the sense consciousness is what gives us experience. Experience of what? Duality. Good and bad. And Prakriti, the matter, is the reason for causes producing effects, which is karma. So, Purusha sits within matter, Prakriti. From that, experience emerges, Gun, and from that, karma happens. We are doing things now in life. All based on our own unique constitution. Consciousness is the same in everyone, but this unique constitution is separate in all of us. And we were talking about it yesterday. Why does this game happen? Krishna, in 3 different verses, I don't have the verse numbers with me, but he said we are helpless. We are choiceless. We're born again and again, not because we choose. We're born again and again to fulfill certain desires. The biggest desire is the desire to exist. As I was saying yesterday, no matter how sad you are or how difficult your life feels, the desire to exist is a very primal thing in all of us. It is like, I don't have that prop with me right now, but if I were to imagine a magnet and some iron filings, Put iron filings close to magnet, they automatically get attached. So that is how consciousness and matter get together. Automatically. We don't choose it. Yes, Paneet? Magnet, and then if you put iron pieces, small pieces to it, next to it, they automatically get together. So the magnet is consciousness and the iron fillings are matter. They helplessly come together. That's the law of physics. In law of spirituality, it is like this. Yes, Chatra? Mind. This experiencing person. Yes. Because each one of us will have different thoughts. Consciousness is the same, but each one of us will have different thoughts. That is our unique makeup. Where the thoughts come from? Thoughts come from the soul person. Based on karmic samskaras. That is why everybody is unique.
2 questions I have since this question started. One is, so the consciousness is the same for everyone, right? What I understood from where you initially started question 2. And the Prakriti, that is the matter is different once the consciousness and Prakriti are together. That's why we are animated in a different way. Monkey might be different with cat. Is that what consciousness is same for everyone? Is my first question. Yes.
Yes, absolutely yes.
And the animation, that is how we are finally presented monkey or whatever, comes from the consciousness and this together.
Matter together.
Okay. And two, which came in my mind, I just wanted to check. It's like a thing, and that's why in Sanskrit, Prakriti is matter also, and Prakriti is behavior also.
Ah.
Is that similar?
So we'll unravel that.
You know, remember that?
Yes. So Prakriti actually has 4 meanings.
In Sanskrit, yeah.
In Sanskrit, in Gita.
In Gita, yeah.
So, Yuko was asking yesterday, Yuko was asking after our session yesterday about these 7 dolls. And I said, they're all 7 Purushas, in fact. 7 persons. So Purusha has 7 meanings. But the meaning we are using here to start off with, the biggest Purusha is consciousness. Similarly, Prakriti has 4 meanings. First meaning is matter. Second meaning is personality. So let's come to the second meaning of personality, when the animation happens. That's when the verse that we read, the body conglomerate comes out, desires come out, pleasure, pain come out. All of that now define our personality. You see? Consciousness meets with a unique mind complex, mind matter complex, and all of us then have a unique inner personality. Consciousness meets the 5 elements, and each of us have a unique personality also. Outer personality. Yeah, makes sense?
No, it makes sense. Brings something else also in my mind, which I want to share. Can I?
Yeah.
Like the Ganges, still being Ganges after all the 7 Alaknanda and Brahmagiri, and finally in Haridwar also it's the Ganges. So it's the same Prakriti. First it's just the matter, then what you just told, after consciousness, it's the behavior, and maybe the third, fourth, what you're going to tell might be a extension of it. While you were telling this came in my mind, like it starts like Alaknanda and then something like that. It keeps going. So yeah,
I would interpret that also as Ganga is only one.
yeah, finally,
It passes through all of these 7 places and its personality changes depending on what it meets along the way. It meets other tributaries. It passes through certain towns and cities and villages, and it collects all of it. So the water in Ganga is consciousness, collects all of this stuff along the way, and Ganga's personality changes along the way. Ganga in Calcutta, where it meets Bay of Bengal, is very different than Ganga in Gangotri. Likewise, we being the pure consciousness, over many lives we accumulate all of these things. So we've answered 2 questions so far. What are the dolls made of? I'm just repeating myself here. Purusha and Prakriti. These dolls are made up of Purusha and Prakriti. And when Purusha and Prakriti get into partnership, this partnership, we get personality, we get animation. And that animation reflects in, as we look at the monkey doll, first experience emerges. What is the reason for experience? Consciousness. Once the experience emerges, karma automatically happens. What is experience? Yes. But let's just feel inside of us. What is experience? It is a constant flow of energy inside of us. And that experience is what we call life, isn't it? What is life other than experience? And that is Gun. Gun has many other meanings, quality being one of them. But here I'm using it as to mean experience. Just as Ganga is flowing, no? The constant flow, that is experience. So, let's read from what Krishna then says. This is the new printout I gave today. Guna and Karma. He says 13.21, he says, again I'm repeating myself because these are very dense ideas. He says, consciousness is the reason for experiencing pleasure and pain. And matter, Prakriti, is the reason for karma. Leon, this one. That one. And then Krishna says in chapter 18, 18.40, he says, there is no one on this earth or among the gods in the heaven who are free from these gunas born of Prakriti. Everybody, be it humans or be it God, everybody is having this experience. Then he says, now he goes to the next game, experience leads to karma. And he says, in a very not philosophical way, in a very abstract way, he says, none but the gunas are the doer. The experience within us is what is driving the doership, action. If I'm feeling a certain state of an experience, that will dictate my actions. Actions are dependent on experience. Experience is dependent on the coming together of Purusha, consciousness, and matter. This is the daisy chain. Purusha, Prakriti, Gun, and Karma. And this experience, as I was saying, is that flow in our life, in our energy, in our life, or the internal heat map of our inner experience that he measures by three kind of gunas: Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. Sattva, the one that is wholesome, uplifting. Rajas, that is marked by action, restlessness. And Tamas, which is darkness, inertia, laziness. Then he says 14.6 and 14.7, 14.8, I'll quickly read it. He says Sattva is pure, of the nature of light and wholesome. It binds to joy and to knowledge. And he says the nature of Rajas is desire. It arises out of attachment and craving. We want something. And he says it binds to action. Third, he says Tamas, it is born of ignorance. And it binds to negligence, laziness, and pramad, sleep. Pramad is negligence, sleep is, inaction. मेरे पर देखो कि संजू कहाँ है? Can you get him? I will pause here for a second because I was preparing for the session today. I realized there's a lot I have to talk about today. And this is where the psychology meets of Gita. Why do we do what we do? Consciousness is not doing anything. It is the matter inside of us, the threefold matter that is deciding the experience. What I think in the moment. I see a beautiful sunrise. I have an experience. I see somebody I don't like, I have an experience.
And what is the difference between pleasure and experience?
Pleasure, experience are all in this body only. Pleasure is what senses want, which is part of mind only. This green thingy in here. But there's a lot more to our experience also than just senses, no? We can close our eyes. Thoughts will not stop. So experience is not stopping. If we shut down each of our five senses one by one, experience will not shut down. Pleasure and pain is what we want to chase outside. Yeah?
This line,
One second. There should be more questions after what I've just said. And that is the whole point. It's as I said, it's a self-inquiry text, no?
Actually, Papa, your experience stops when you're sleeping.
Ah, wow. This is, does it? Does it?
Yes.
What happens when you're dreaming? That is an experience. Very good question. That's what she's asked is a very deep question actually, which is what Mandukya Upanishad talks about, the three states of awareness. The waking state, the dreaming state, and the deep sleep.
But Papa, you don't remember when you're sleeping if you don't have a dream.
That's the third state, deep sleep. So, just to go on a sidetrack, the Upanishad, the Mandukya Upanishad specifically, says this is the waking state. Just tries to do the analogy with the three bodies. This physical body, the experience that this physical body is the waking state. Behind that waking state, when I sleep, that is my dream state. Dreams are conditioned by mind only. Senses are shut down during dreams, but dreams still come. But then when we are having the REM sleep, deep sleep, even dreams stop. And then we wake up in the morning and we said, I slept very well. It was a very deep sleep. You don't remember the dream, but you have that awareness that you had a deep sleep. Which is the third bit, which I said unmanifested. This is manifested to all. The dream is manifested only to me. The waking state is manifested to all. The dream state is manifested only to me. And then beyond that dream state, I said the causal body, the soul person is the deep sleep state.
Isn't it 4 states?
Yes. So, what is the fourth state?
Swapnam.
Swapnam.
Yeah.
Swapnam is dreaming, no?
Yeah. Or like, in between the sleep and deep sleep.
That's all within that whole thing, no? But what is beyond these three?
Samadhi.
It's still in awareness only. But to answer your question, there are these three states: waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. Beyond that, there is Turiya, consciousness, fourth. Mandukya Upanishad calls the waking state as A, the dream state as U, the deep sleep state as Ma. Combine the three, A, U, Ma, we get Om is and all of this waking, dreaming, deep sleep is happening in the background of consciousness. We took a little side. Thank you, Meher. It's not in my script today. Any other thoughts, questions, reflections?
When you say that this line especially, even the gods are not free from gunas. What does it mean?
Ha. Experience is fundamental, no? As I was saying, like a session 1, I think we talked about. Consciousness itself doesn't do anything. It has to reflect something back. And what is that? Through the body channel, it is the experience only, no? But matter itself does not have any experience. Consciousness gives matter experience. And once matter gets experience, it does karma, which is defined by what? My unique constituent of these three. Physical body, the experiencing body, and the soul body. This. So once these consciousness meets Prakriti, it gets personality, which is the second meaning of Spinny telling of Prakriti's personality. And then the game begins. This is the game. Sanju? This is the game. Gun and Karma. So if you see the iconography here, these are the 5 elements. This is the experiencing person. Same experience, I'll explain that in a second. And then this is the soul person, the icon for that. And I was saying that this is the puppet master, the unseen within me. That a desire comes from here. I want to make a lot of money. Maybe that desire is somewhere deep within us, based on whatever our conditioning is. From that desire, a thought comes. Based on that thought, I do action through this doing person. So in this iconography, we say this is the soul person. We've deliberately shown like a gear, and the gear has 3 different colors to it, which are the 3 colors of gunas. The white being the sattva, the red being rajas, and black being tamas. So in that sense, we are machines only. Not quite, but we'll come to what makes us not quite machines. But a way to look at it would be we are like machines only. So a thought comes in, experiencing person feels it. No, sorry, a desire comes in and experiencing person feels it, action happens. And this karmic wheel keeps on going moment to moment, moment to moment, moment to moment. Sometimes it goes in this direction, clockwise. Sometimes it goes in the other direction, anti-clockwise. This is how we accumulate everything in our life. So this is how consciousness and matter get together and we get experience. Karma emerges. So we'll stop here today, open it up for questions. Among the 6 questions that I have mentioned here, we've answered 3 of them today. What are the 3 questions? What are the dolls made up of? Consciousness and matter. How do dolls get life? Consciousness has a partnership with matter. This comes. We get born. Personality emerges. Once personality emerges, that shows up here. We get animation. The play of life starts. And the play of life is just the play of these 3 dolls. Like that monkey. It has an inner thing coded within its side, like it has been programmed a certain way that you turn on the battery with this physical form, I'll start hopping, jumping, whatever. Some monkeys will hop, some monkeys will jump, some monkeys will make some sound. That's here. The next 3 questions we'll talk about tomorrow, which are we'll look deeper into what this karmic wheel is. I call it the karmic wheel. This holds the key to who we are. Why do we have the same thoughts again and again? Why do we do the same things again and again? If I'm not happy with what I'm doing and what the thoughts I have, how do I change them? This idea of personal transformation that we see in self-help books is all in here. In fact, much more at a much more grander level in Bhagavad Gita. We have a lot of self-help books nowadays if you go to bookshop and all. So this is the play of life in motion, question 4, which will go more into detail tomorrow. Then what is the point of this game? We are born choicelessly, but now what is the point? To what end? What are we making? This doll, this monkey doesn't have a choice. We talked about free will yesterday. It's been rigged a certain way. So in that sense, pure machine, just like but we have something that this monkey doesn't have. We'll find out that tomorrow. And then finally, what we become. Over long enough period of time, which is this moment to moment, our life, this chakra keeps on going and on, we become something, become someone. What that is, we'll find out tomorrow. So, we will stop here today. And now, anything to share, questions, it's open floor. A lot of things I said today, like I was preparing for it and I was thinking, okay, this is going to be a little harder one, but this is where the essence of Gita is, and I'll be it might sound sacrilege to a lot of people, but this is what I feel Krishna is pointing us to. It's written for Arjun. Gita is not written for Krishna, he doesn't need it. He doesn't need Bhagavad Gita. He doesn't need to make these bold claims, yada yada hi dharmasya and all that stuff. He doesn't really need to even tell us that he is God. So when Arjuna is wanting to run away, not do his duty, he's telling him, dude, if you don't do your duty, this karmic wheel will turn in a way for you that will be impossible for you to come back from. If you run away from the battles in life, the battles will chase you. If you go ahead and face the battles in life, that's good karma. Might lose, he says, you might lose. If you lose and die, you'll go to the heaven. If you win, you'll enjoy this kingdom. Win-win. But don't run away. Okay.
We play in the ground if you're play in the football ground if you're on the ground, right? Yesterday, something similar.
Something similar. And know your role. And play your role to your best ability. May not be perfect, but you're doing your best.
Right, karma.
Question that comes up for me is like about the nature of personality. We need to unfold a little bit because we can, like in every of the doors, we can, through practice of meditation and self-inquiry, we can get aware of the Prakriti, of the matter in it, right? You can get aware of the body, you can get aware of the thoughts and the mind. And where, and it's because often self-inquiry, there's this like aim of finding this, the nature of personality, like the pure essence, let's say. Because there can always be like the sattvic quality, so is that like the pure, because that would not cause like bad karma, that would more like serve our dharma, right? So that's like this aim, the sweet spot that we're searching for.
So what is the sweet spot, Leon, like, which we haven't discussed today? The sweet spot would be this intersection between what your dharma is and what your karma is. If your karma is in accordance with your dharma, that is the sweet spot. And where that alignment between dharma and karma gets out of place could be because of maybe something not quite right with my personality. So first thing to know is what is your dharma and what are we doing with that dharma. Second is if we are not doing that dharma properly, how do we then work and understand through this investigation of matter, Prakriti within us, where we might be getting stalled. Answer will always come to the third one, this one, the unseen one. What is behind the person that even that I experience? Where is that desire coming from? Right? The triggers coming from. Meditation is for this person, experiencing person. Karma yoga is for this person, the doing person. And ultimately in service of this only, to understand who is really Pranav. Why does he do the same things again and again? Good or bad doesn't matter. The trick to unlocking who we are as a real personality is not in actually the doing person, not even the experiencing person, is it in this person? And this is a tricky one because sits inside of me, but it's not seen by me also.
But it's still influence, right? Because it's still like also influence that
Mhm.
comes more and more if we do the right actions. Let's say karma and dharma becomes more fingerprint and the seeds coming above each other.
100%. Because this I cannot directly investigate because I don't see it. But through my repeated actions and repeated thoughts, I can infer what this is. That's why it's a wheel. Because these three dolls are always playing in constant motion. The doing is mediated by the experience, which is fueled by my impressions. Did that answer?
I think just kind of like focusing more on these on the third doll.
This one?
By and large, what I have seen is that this is the hardest space to illuminate. And for some of us who are sitting here, we are on the path of illuminating this pattern or this subconscious layer. But many times in life, where I want to ask you this, like for some of us, the mirror has been shown uh, by an evolved being, a psychotherapist, or some type of an experiential something that takes us into that space, you know. So it could be a psychedelic, which is sort of a treatment that is being used now where we live to illuminate this subconscious because uh, people tell me you have this pattern. I'm like, no, I don't. No, I don't. And then you are given this treatment right now, which is becoming mainstream, at least in the US, right? Ketamine or those class of things. And this part, a glimpse of this subconscious becomes available. And that opening then sort of like moves us into this breakthrough of understanding it deeper. But really, I want to say that this is the hardest part, right? Like some of us can't just like meditate and self inquiry and spend all that time. And yet, after lifetimes, this will not be visible. So I just wanted to call that out because how do we, how do we even get there to see this subconscious, which is driving everything in our life, right? The patterns. Until someone external or maybe internal guru also illuminates or shines the light on us.
So that is why this game is so hard, no? Not everybody has access to psychedelics. Before, therapy in the last 20-25 years has gained that prominence. But what did people before that turn to get therapy? Either religion or spirituality. And within that frame of religion and spirituality, Krishna says to get therapy is karma yoga. For this, meditation and bhakti for the experiencing person, and having the right knowledge, jnana, for this person. That you are not in bondage only. You are this, the real I. So sounds like a theoretical concept, but not everybody has access to those kind of therapies, no? Talk therapy, for example, what you're talking about psychedelics, opens a window in here. Lay down on a couch, tell me how you're feeling. Talk therapy, it kind of tries to work here. I'm sick, go to a doctor, that therapy is for this. So, another point to really see here the subtlety of this teaching is that the more inner we go, the harder the game becomes. A doctor can see, okay, I measure my temperature and say, okay, you have flu, you have this and that, take this medicine, very simple. Talk therapist can only know what you're feeling by what you tell him or her. But even that telling is conditioned only, like you try to invent stories. I was angry, that's why I did it. That somebody said this to me, that's why I did it. But I'm sure a lot of people are not completely honest with their therapists also. Everybody has this need to look good. But when we go into the deeper recesses of what lies beyond our mind, we find that there is a much bigger, might be a small doll, but this is where the heavy lifting is happening through that karmic wheel. That's why that is at the top. That is the one puppet master that is driving everything else.
Agree that nowadays they are using, like ketamine and things like that to unravel maybe what lies within. There's also like these ayahuasca retreats that people go to where they feel that when they do that, they get, some knowledge about their dharma. However, there should be long-term consequences, right, of using those substances, and how effective is it? Like, you hear people go to shamans, right, in South America, doing this whole ceremony and then coming out knowing what their dharma should be, as opposed to being in the material in the regular world and just following through. So what are your thoughts on that?
See, I do not claim or disclaim that I have done psychedelics. But there is a window, if you want to get into neuroscience of that. Amrita was asking, pleasure. Pleasure is a chemical that is dopamine related. Psychedelics mostly work on this chemical called serotonin. that makes us not necessarily want something, but just takes a step back from that. It does open a window where we have time to work on ourselves. But like anything can be abused. They are doing all kinds of studies in the West, use of psychedelics and all. So I'm sure there is a window of opportunity that is available to work with what is moving through you. And I think it's a very powerful therapeutic approach. But like anything else, it can also be abused.
I do want to, I live in a place called Boulder in Colorado where most of these types of therapies originated and research is still happening. Uh, actually, it is being used for people with deep trauma, right? Trauma, as in like a trauma of the type of war, when they have been on the front lines of war, sexual abuse, those types of things. And it has proven to provide what Pranav is saying, Bindu. But I really want to be very cautious of this. It is not a trip, it's not an adventure, and when used in incorrect ways, or what Pranav is saying, abused, it will lead to that karmic thing again. I know it has become the fashion now to kind of, but in a therapeutic setting with a proper shaman and kind of advised by a psychotherapist for those types of individuals who suffer from these deep traumas, it can be a healing source, and there are documentaries on it. But again, like anything, it's being abused, right? And we have to be very, very careful about it. If people are seeking trips, it will lead to addiction, and then it will go back in there. So I just wanted to share that insight because we are in that journey in Boulder, like MDMA therapies, and it has a role to play. I have seen people being healed, but that is just one window. After that, the work has to be done by us. So just wanted to
Yeah, just like having a mushroom trip or a ketamine trip is not going to solve the problems. The problems will come back. But what we do in that time window is what will, you know.
But there's always a timeline between realization and action. So maybe the psychedelic will help you to realize, but bring it into action is one's job. So what do you say?
Everything until it is backed by action is theory only, no? So you can have a grand experience on psychedelics, but if we haven't taken the time to really understand what that experience was and what it is telling us about ourselves, then we've missed the window then. Especially as Harpreet was saying, no? We know a few people who've come and fought back from wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Arjun was a warrior after all. He had to kill people. That kind of thing can be very hard to work with, right? And then physical, sexual abuse is another one.
It's a very interesting.
We're living in some interesting times right now where there are therapies, but then there's also more mental health issues. And there is this growing body of work now where spirituality is coming together along with therapies really get a better understanding of who we are. And I've seen so many people become more spiritual once they've done psychedelics.
I think, Pranav, I would like to substantiate that by saying that the people we have known in Boulder, many of them, because of their trauma, childhood trauma, there was this, as an example, basically, I don't know what is love or what is a safe place because they were never, their parents were like, in the US, there's this deep thing, drug addiction, and they had never had even a mother child relationship. So they had basically never experienced the mother or the safety of a family. And what they shared in their experience was this window that Pranav talked about is this safety and that little doll, the Om doll, of that consciousness, right, of universal love. So what that did to them is that it gave them a window of experience that this is how it feels. Now, once you have tasted or felt something, they took that feeling or that reality and then worked on it. Because if you have never experienced safety and love, all this, nothing makes sense because I'm so unsafe in my body, this home. So then that window, then the integration of that experience starts, right? Because I know what it is. So I want to add on to that. That's what people shared with us. But I will tell you personally, very anti psychedelics, but I'm for it in a therapeutic setting. Um, and for me, I thought that being privileged to be born in India and this body of knowledge, if I can get it through this tapas, then I don't need it. But there are people who need it. There are people I've seen. They are so unsafe and they will go and do addiction. And you hear no all in the media.
So, if there are no more questions, shall we wrap it up for today? So it wasn't that hard of a session, huh? No, this is a hard one for me to prepare. Just because we have to bring in the terminology, which is also a little abstract, and language with more contemporary expression. Um, I'll encourage you to come close and look at these icons. More questions will come. Um, just try not to take pictures, just because it's still like, you know, just to save, like, you'll get whatever you want at some point. We're creating a book out of this very soon, and we'll be able to give it for, a whole iconography chart we are creating. But right now, the need is to protect this work a little bit more. But come close and see what we have, come up with or imagined in terms of iconography. When the goal here is to make this beautiful teaching accessible in a more contemporary way. It becomes more real to people. Thank you. Yeah, we'll do a prayer before we go. Just a short one. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Thank you.